How many times have you asked yourself, are these their feelings or are these my feelings? Well, I'm going to tell you 3 ways that you can actually tell if you have clair empathy. A lot of people think that clair empathy is the same as being empathetic, which it is very close, but clair empathy is actually a lot more intense. And you see it most commonly with people who are mediums, again, because they've mastered the skill of exchanging energy or feeling energy from those on the other side. Not every medium can do it, but it is most common in those types of people. So let's get into 3 ways you can actually tell if you have it. So the first one is you have and you experience other people's emotions intensely. So that includes even at far distances. A lot of people think that because you may be picking up on something from someone around you means you're clair empathetic, but that's not actually the case. Most people who have clair empathy can also feel things in other countries, in other spaces, and it's almost like they're there in real time. It's a very, very intense feeling. I know I've experienced this many times in my life, especially when trauma is being caused in other places, because I'm so heavily connected to energy. I'm so heavily connected to the earth. I'm so heavily connected to how the collective moves in general. That's why I can channel collective messages as well. And even though some folks can channel collective messages, doesn't necessarily mean that they also have the gift of clair empathy, because they can be channeling a general feeling, but it doesn't mean they can actually feel it within their body, within their senses, within their own emotions. So it's basically like someone else's energy becomes your own and it manifests in your body. And that's why some people are like, I'm feeling really intensely and I don't know where the heck this came from. And this is why it's so important also to understand your own trauma and whether or not you have anxiety, or if you have PTSD, or if you've lived in a household where you constantly had to predict other people's behavior in order to survive. So you might hyper focus on details of people. That is very different than clair empathy, right? But sometimes they might present themselves the same and people think that they have clair empathy, but really they're really good at hyper focusing and figuring out someone's next moves because they can read them so well. So doing your generational healing is where it's really going to help you to understand how your clairs actually work. That's why we do all of our healing at the same time we work on our clairs. So number 2 is you're able to shift other people's energy most of the time in silence. So aside from, walking into a room and you have a really bold energy and you can like shift the energy of the room, you can literally, if you're next to someone, and you start to feel their emotions, like maybe they're feeling angry, maybe they're feeling sad, maybe they're feeling a certain kind of way, because you can feel it, there's already that flow of energy. So then you can flow something back to them and help shift their mindset and actually help them heal. Like clair empathy is one of the coolest things. Um, this skill for number 2, you see a lot, I feel like, with shamans and folks who are really good at holding space and can send out healing energy to folks in the room. That's how you know you're experiencing something. You may get like tingles in your head, you may get tingles all over your body. I know for like one of my clients, I did a session with them and they felt tingly and like cloudy for like 3 days because they were so activated. So someone who has clair empathy can literally shift the emotions and energy of someone else and like help them alchemize whatever they need to alchemize. It's um, a very strong, I guess, like communication, but it's like silent. It's silent, but so like brightening. So number 3 is you feel all of the creatures, animals, and the earth simultaneously. So obviously, as you're growing clairempathy, because it does take time, you will begin to sense how nature feels, how animals feel, down to like the smallest bird or the smallest fly, or the ocean. Especially for folks who consider themselves stewards of the land, who protect the land. Indigenous people are beautiful at this. They don't just read nature, but they can understand it, and they're energetically connected. So when you have that deep connection to the world around you, you're less likely to hurt it because you can feel their pain. And someone like myself who understands animals and nature, that's why I'm really good at dog training. That's why I like horseback riding. Like, I work with animals a lot because I enjoy it and I communicate with them differently. At the end of the day, everything is energy, and animals are so sensitive to energy. So you have a deep understanding of shifts, or you can tell when, like, maybe the weather is going to shift, or maybe you look into the ocean and you can sense that there's not something wrong, but it could be something is different. Like, something has changed. It's because the energy of the water is changing, and something could be going on. Or you can feel when animals are in distress. Like, this is why I don't go into zoos and aquariums and things like that, and I haven't for a very long time. I don't like them, because the minute I walk through the door, I have a literal panic attack, because a lot of those animals are suffering, and people just want to go witness them, which I get for like learning and things like that. But a lot of them are in distress. So sometimes you can also experience that and get lightheaded, and because these animals and creatures are like trying to get back to a sense of safety and balance, and they're so displaced that they can't do that. So those are things that you should really pay attention to. And one thing I also wanted to point out, when you're checking if you do have clairempathy, and just making note for yourself, and just as you're meditating, paying attention to it, going through your day, paying attention to it. But also know the difference between, like, let's say you're watching a movie, and you feel the intensity of the movie. That doesn't necessarily mean you have clairempathy, because that could mean that you're just really good at putting yourself in someone else's shoes, which will also happen when you've had a lot of trauma, because you understand what it feels like to be so hurt. So you try your best to understand from someone else's perspective what's going on. But again, like, the movie itself doesn't have emotions, but it will invoke emotions in you. But if there's a physical person, or physical people, or animals, or whatever it is, the environment, then you can pick up on that using your clair empathy, but not necessarily in a movie that's actually likely your trauma. So just start to know the difference. And a lot of people ask questions like this in the weekly sessions that we have, about discernment, and when it's mine, when it's theirs, am I getting triggered by something? Like, that's why meditating and going on these journeys and even attending these classes are good for you, to get to know yourself, because sometimes you have to remove yourself from your physical environment in order to see how your energy actually works for an extended amount of time. That's why you see a lot of spiritual leaders take time to themselves. They're not constantly on social media. They, spend a time relaxing and away from family, and like that sort of stuff, because it's important for them to cleanse their energy. And especially if you have clairempathy, like myself and some of my other friends, you have to be really mindful about who you're around, because it's like an instant shift sometimes. Like, someone could just be having a rotten, really hard day, and it affects you immediately and so strongly, that it can throw off your entire mood if you're not shielding correctly, or if you're not aware that it's someone else's, and if you don't have the techniques and the tools to be able to send it away, right? Like you detach from that energy and have the insight to know that it's not you being frustrated about something, it's something else. And knowing like maybe it is me this time and I'm just having a crappy day. Like you have to know yourself on a very deep level in order to ensure that you are doing what's best for you and those around you. But it's a really, really beautiful clair to have. And I highly recommend you all try and develop it because it gives you a deep understanding of the world around you. And a lot of stuff that we are experiencing in this world today could, you know, be in a much better state if everyone understood everyone else's emotions and like not having to guess, and if people could verbalize things comfortably because folks had an understanding. Like a lot can be solved when we are understanding of other people, other creatures, other life in this world. So I wanted to share that with you. Let me know below if this is helpful. Let me know also if you have any of these signs, and feel free to like and subscribe and come join one of the classes. We actually have one tomorrow, and there's 3 every week. So I'm there helping and coaching, and the community is there asking questions. You are welcome to share your story. You're welcome to sit in and just have fun, but know that the space is for you. It's time we all reclaim our gifts and create a better world. So that is there for you. It's called Z School for the Gifted. And I'm sending you all lots of love, lots of hugs. Take care of each other, be compassionate, and use your clairs responsibly. And I will talk to you all soon.